How's it going, guys? Today, we're going to be going over 5 things to ask yourself before making a film. How are you guys doing? My name's Jacob True, and I'm one of the founders of the Central Valley Film Project. When you're first getting into film, you can get really caught up in your concept and your idea and start having these illusions of grandeur on how your film is going to go. However, as a filmmaker, it is very important to take a step back and really evaluate both the story and the situation before moving forward with a film. With that being said, we are giving you these 5 things to really consider before you hop into a project. Now, as a disclaimer, these are just a few things that I like to ask myself before hopping into a film. And I think they're a really valuable asset to a filmmaker whenever they're considering going into a project. So with that out of the way, let's get started. The first thing you should ask yourself before making a film is, how passionate are you about this project? Now, that may seem like, a giveaway answer. If you're thinking about making the film, you're passionate about it, right? Well, for our more seasoned filmmakers, that's not always the case. Sometimes you just feel like you need to make something just because you haven't made it in a while, or it seems like a more safe option if you're going into, let's say, a competition. So you just roll with the idea because that's the first thing that popped into your head. However, if you're not excited about the idea, the audience will not be excited by the idea. And on top of that, if you're not excited about the idea, making a film is a long task. And it is very likely that you will lose interest and just burn out mid-process, which is a really unfortunate thing that happens to a lot of filmmakers, especially when they're just starting out and they aren't ready for the challenges that come with a production. This rolls into the second question you should ask yourself: how hard is it going to be to make this film? We all know filmmaking is a very difficult process. However, some films are much more difficult to make than others. And you really need to ask yourself, how hard is it going to be? You have to ask yourself, what kind of equipment do you need? What software do you need? What kind of a cast do you need? Costumes, props, permits, all sorts of different things can lead into how hard a film is going to be. Once you have a story idea, you really need to break it down into its key components and ask yourself, what do I need to make this film? Is this a cast of 2, 10, 50? Do you have a child actor? Do you have a 60-year-old actor? These are all things you need to understand before hopping into a film. So if you have a great story idea and you're not ready to make it, just shelf the idea for now and start with something a little smaller. That way you can continue to grow your skill set and your network, and eventually you can come back to that idea and make it proper. Nothing is worse than when you have a great story idea and then you rush to make it, rather than take a step back and work your way up to the film and really do that story and concept justice. The third thing to ask yourself is, has this film been done before? Now, what I mean by that is it's very easy for us to get inspired by the films we watch. You might see a movie like Reservoir Dogs and say, hey, I want to make a quick criminal drama. Or you might see a movie like Sandlot and say, hey, I want to make a baseball comedy. It's okay to have a story that's similar to another movie, but you want to make sure it's your own and just not the shadow of something greater. It's very easy to not even realize that you've been recently inspired by a film. So always make sure to take a step back and make sure that this is a film that's unique to you and that has its own thumbprint and can leave its own mark on the film community. The fourth question you need to ask yourself is, do I have the capability to make this film? Now, this might take a step back to the how hard is this film going to make question. However, there's a key distinction. How hard is it going to be to make this film? It's really about the resources. Do you have the gear, the crew, the locations? Once you have all those resources figured out, you now need to ask yourself, do you have the skill and the energy to complete your vision? Your film could have the best equipment in the industry, but if it's your first time ever touching a camera or ever recording something, chances are it's gonna be kind of bad. But that's just how it is. If it's your first time baking something, you're not gonna make a 5-star meal. If it's your first time painting something, you're not gonna end up in the Louvre. Is that what it's called, the Louvre?
The Louvre.
The Louvre.
I don't know what that is.
It's a museum. Anyway, with any given craft, it takes a lot of time and energy to really hone it in and to master it. So if you have an idea that's gonna take a lot of skill and a lot of technical capability, then maybe you should hold back on it and practice and work your way up to getting that good. You have the resources at that point. You just need to make sure that you can do the idea justice through the portrayal and through the artistry of the film. On top of that, if you don't have the energy for it, you might get burnt out halfway through, which is probably the worst thing you could do with a film. Nothing is worse than getting a crew together, getting everyone excited about a concept, and never finishing the film. It is heartbreaking to everyone involved. They put in all of their time and energy just so that you would tap out eventually because you didn't know what you were getting into. And it's completely okay if that's happened to you. It's common for everyone. It's one of the steps in the filmmaking journey that all of us have to endure. You just really need to evaluate that if you have the time, the energy, and the capability to pull off a film. That way, if you finish it off, your cast, crew, and yourself can be happy by the end of it. And the final question you need to ask yourself before making a film is, are you ready to separate yourself from this piece of film? What I mean by that is it's very easy as creators to get personally involved with the project and to really stake a lot of your character into the story and into the details. This is a very dangerous game to play because that means if anyone criticizes your film or if something goes wrong in your film, it's gonna feel like an attack on your character or a failure on your part. The harsh reality of film, as I previously stated, is that it's hard, it's difficult. So it's very easy to run into those mistakes, and you really shouldn't beat yourself up about it when you do. Additionally, people might be trying to give you very constructive criticism on how to improve in the future, and you should really welcome that criticism. That way you can improve as a filmmaker. If you keep your mind closed as a creator, and you're not allowing other people to give their perspective on your piece of art, it's gonna be very difficult to grow as an artist. So you really need to be able to take a step back and understand that this isn't your life in this film. This is merely an expression of your life, and other people are simply trying to help you express it more clearly, more purely, and more efficiently. And that's it. Those are 5 things to ask yourself before making a film. I really hope that you guys found this helpful and that this was able to give you some insight on the creative process and what you should be asking yourself before diving headfirst into a behemoth of a project. If you like this video and you want to see others like it, please subscribe to our channel. And you can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook with the handle @CVFP209. We're going to be releasing videos weekly, and we have some really fun content in store for you guys. So make sure that you don't miss out on any of our new videos. Thank you guys again so much for watching this. We deeply appreciate your support, and you are helping us live our dreams every day.